2,000 steps. The average person walks about 17-minute mile, 17 to 20-minute mile. So I told you 2,000 steps is approximately a mile for most people, and that's 20 minutes. 15 if you're fast.
Hi, welcome to the Judy Terrell Show, where I explore topics intended to optimize everybody 50, 60, 70, and above.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to your second 50 years on the planet. And if you're joining me in this video, then you are on my fifth episode in my 6-part series on my guidebook for helping you, if you're over 50, male or female, to get out of the pre-diabetes category and back into normal blood sugars. How? By using patterns and behaviors in your everyday life as medicine to help to reverse pre-diabetes. All right. So this is episode number 5. And in this episode, I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I'm going to talk about not what you're ingesting, which is what the first 4 episodes were about. The first one was about starchy carbohydrates and which ones are better to have to try and help control pre-diabetes versus, escalate it. The second episode was about added grams of sugar in your products and foods that you're eating that have labels and what to look for in that, gave you a formula for that. The third episode was about portions and meal timing. The fourth episode was about always mixing carbs, protein, and fat so that you're not having just carbs alone. Very important. And now episode number 5, we're going to switch out of, some behaviors for what you're eating and ingesting and go into movement, because movement can be a very, very helpful tool if you're given some guidelines on how to use it to help control blood sugar. All right. So with that said, this episode, I'm going to talk to you about walking, just moving, getting more steps in your everyday life. I'm not going to necessarily tell you have to go to the gym and get on a treadmill or, join Peloton and get on the bike, although those things would be phenomenal to do. But many people, for a variety of reasons, find that to be challenging, if not undesirable. But everybody can move around and has to move around in their everyday life, right? So I'm going to talk about steps, all right? There are devices and they're not expensive. I do advocate that anybody I'm working with individually who's in this pre-diabetic category invest in a very cheap step counter. Something you can wear. It's like you can buy them for $20 to $40 now without all the bells and whistles, but it will give you a number of steps that you're doing in a day. You wear it on your wrist, and it will give you a number. If you put it on in the morning, you take it off at night. When you go to bed, you will have your step number. Now, why am I advocating for steps? Not from a weight loss perspective per se in this video about pre-diabetes, but from a controlling blood sugar point of view. All right. So let's just say you get the step tracker or you have one and you've been looking at it and you're averaging. Most of my clients are, when we're just starting this process and they do this, it's about 2,000. They might be as high as 6,000 steps a day, with most being somewhere in this 2 to 4, maybe 5,000 steps a day when they're diagnosed with prediabetes. So the very first thing that I say to them is get a step tracker, tell me the number of steps you're averaging, and now we got to up that. Why? Because when you're just moving around your everyday life, your everyday activity, every step that you take it's almost like insulin. It's like it's going to help. Your body is going to need the energy. The muscles and the cells will need energy in order for you to move your own body through time and space. So if you can up your steps, you are now helping your body, even though you're insulin resistant, because we all are when we're over 50 and definitely over 60. Go back to episode number 4 to hear more about that. We're more insulin resistant. So our steps, I want you to think about it as, taking insulin, because every time we step and take steps, it demands energy to do that, energy in our body. Even if body fat gets digested, it gets digested into glucose. Glucose is the main substrate of which we are using for energy, okay, to move ourselves through time and space. Hi, everybody. I wanted to interrupt this podcast because I want to give you something. Your Second 50 Life is my virtual platform that is designed for both men and women over 50 and 60, 70, and 80. And it includes pre-recorded video information on exercise and how to do it, whether you're fit and in good health, or if you have bad knees, bad shoulders, a bad back, whatever. It includes information on how to eat for weight management and how to eat for health management. It includes information on the psychology of aging and what do we need to do in our heads, because let's face it, this aging thing is not for the faint of heart. So your Second 50.life is a virtual platform of resources that you can access at your own leisure, but it also includes 2 times a month live video coaching with me, so that you can bring your own individual questions and get individual coaching, as well as have access to all the information on the pre-recorded videos. So please check it out, because we're all in this together, and we got this if we work as a team. All right, everybody, back to the show. Thanks. So I have clients that will tell me, yeah, I'm averaging about, 2,000 steps a day. I'm not going to tell them to jump up to the 10,000. That's the general recommendation, not for running marathons, but for health, by the way. But you're not going to go from 2,000 to 10,000, even if you've drawn your attention to it. So I tell people, titrate it, be progressive. If you're averaging 2,000, then we're going to target trying to get 4,000. All right, 4,000. Once you're getting 4,000, we can target trying to get 6,000. And then, over time, you're upping that, and maybe you'll get to the point where you're averaging 10,000 steps. Or even if you don't, but now you're averaging 6,000, that's 200% higher than 2,000, right? And why am I addressing this in my pre-diabetes guidebook is because, like I said, every step that you take is like a little shot of, like a little prick of insulin that you're deficient in, or not really, you're not deficient in it. Your body is not as good at receiving the message of the insulin. Insulin resistant, when it starts out, doesn't mean you're not producing insulin. That's type 1 diabetes. It means that you're producing it, and oftentimes at a very high level, but your cells have kind of lost their hearing for it. They're hard of hearing. They're like, what is that? What is that? And they're not using it at the same level that you were when you were younger. So therefore, because we're more insulin resistant as we're older, we have to use our movement in a different way now than we did when we were younger. We have to use it as like insulin. So, what I tell my pre-diabetic clients is, not only do you want to start to toggle up your steps, you also will be very well served when you're trying to help your blood glucose and A1C as to when you are combining your steps in combination with your meals. All right. So you do very well if after you have breakfast in the morning that you would get up and then, maybe walk around your office, go down the stairs to the bathroom on the first floor and then back up to your third floor after breakfast, because as that sugar is hitting your bloodstream from digestion, you can use the stepping when you're timing it close to the meal, within like a half an hour, so that as that blood sugar is starting to go up because the food gets digested, you got to give it about 15 to 20 minutes to start to get through your digestive system and then into your bloodstream. And that's when you're going to strike when the iron's most hot to immediately enhance your insulin resistance, negate it by using the movement to lessen the insulin resistance in a sense, but to actually draw the sugar out of the blood and into the muscles of your legs that are making you ambulatory. All right. After dinner, putting a walk after dinner would be a really good thing to do, because the timing of that is going to be like taking, insulin, injections. Or where I was going, why I hesitate, is even some of these GLP-1 inhibitors, the weight loss drugs that are out, they slow the gastric passing of the food through your system, so help to keep you fuller longer. So in that way, they are slowing down this glucose spike that might come, and then the insulin resistance that combined with that makes blood sugar stay high. We can use the stepping timed right after meals within 20 minutes to 30 minutes as a blood glucose regulator and also as a, body weight management tool as well. But in this series, I'm talking about using it as a glucose, aid or tool, glucose lowering. And our glucose levels will go up. If you use a continuous glucose monitor, you'll see what I'm talking about. You can be in the 180 to 100 range and then eat a meal. And within a half an hour, 45 minutes, you might be up to 180. Which isn't a problem right after a meal necessarily, but you can get that to come down that much faster if you now, get a walk of 2,000 steps, which is 1 mile. It's about 2,000 steps per mile. And that would be well timed to have that in, your steps to try and get yourself from 2,000 to 4,000. If you can put the steps at, within a half an hour of eating. It could be your meals, it could be your snack. Many people have a 15-minute break, in between lunch and getting off work. And if that's when you're snacking, snack right before your break and then go out in the parking lot and take a walk. Very well timed. And in that way, you are using the walking to decrease insulin resistance and better control blood sugar and A1C levels. All right. That's a relatively easy tool. And I'm not talking about going out to do 10,000 steps at once or, that you're going to do an hour walk. 2,000 steps, the average person walks about 17 to 20 minute mile. So I told you 2,000 steps is approximately a mile for most people. And that's 20 minutes, 15 if you're fast. And so use that as your pre-diabetes, move yourself from pre-diabetes out of that category. All right, everybody. This is episode number 5 in my guidebook. There's one more to come. If you haven't watched the first 4, please go back and watch those. If you are gaining information and understanding, because I really work hard to try and explain things in a way, I'm taking the science. I'm not going to reference studies and language that you don't understand. I'm trying to take that and put it into layperson's terms so you can watch my videos and leave them with an immediately applicable new skill, tool, or behavior. Because that's really what we need, right? So like my station, go to my subscription platform, yoursecond50.life, and check that out because there's way more information than just pre-diabetes on there. And I'm constantly adding to it, hence the subscription. So check that out. And thank you for joining me. And please, if you've been following this one, don't forget there's one more episode and I'll see you on that one. And in the meantime, make every single minute and every day that you have over your second 50 count and be meaningful and satisfying. And we got this aging thing and we got this pre-diabetic thing. Yay, us.
And if you'd like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judyterrell.com.